just in March I retired from 25 years of service in the Army as a Green Beret. West Point graduate, 12 combat tours, 4 wars, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Philippines, and places that most people don't even know were fighting wars. I have no connections to any groups or organizations, politics, positions. I have no social media. I'm a stay-at-home dad that got a phone call from GHF because they were looking for special operations background to do armed security. So that's what I got hired to do. I have seen some of the most devastating war that this world has seen in the last quarter century. And what I witnessed in Gaza and what I saw is the worst that I've seen in my entire life. I don't mean from a perspective on justified war or the fight against Hamas. I'm talking about the absolute indiscriminate bombing and killing, displacement, starvation, and targeting of the civilian population. I fought in Raqqa against ISIS, and we took measures to safeguard the civilian population. I fought in Mosul, in Fallujah, in Baghdad, in Taji. It's hard, but you must take consideration of the civilian population. Israel is not doing that by any stretch of the imagination. The entire area of Rafah, the city of Rafah, is gone. There's not a building that stands. The UN camp in Rafah, where internally displaced Palestinians stayed, gone. The entire eastern corridor, gone. While I was there, Operation Gideon's Chariots, Part 1, in the south, had commenced in the clearing of the entire central part of Gaza. In the time that I was there, I witnessed central Gaza go from something that was there to something that is gone. Every UN camp is now not run by the UN, but they're gone. They've been bombed or bulldozed. Right now, Israel is conducting Operation Gideon's Chariots 2. It's the clearance of the northern Gaza. Weeks and months ago, we said, that won't happen. We'll have a ceasefire, that won't happen. It's happening. They started a month early. Operation Gideon's Chariots 2, by their overall operational plan from clearing the rest of the central Gaza before they went north, was supposed to start at the end of September. They started at the end of August. They called up 60,000 more IDF reservists to come in to not only have a single front from the south, but also from Erez from the north, squeezing the entire population. Whoever survives the bombing and survives the fighting is pushed to the west, and the only place they can go. There is nowhere less to go except south, 22 to 24 kilometers to a concentration camp. The only thing left for people to go to live once their house is blown up is a 2.7 kilometer encampment that is run by the United States of America. The GHF run it. It's not run by the IDF. It's not run by COGA. It's run by the GHF. Americans guarding it. As these civilians come down to the site, if they survive, women and children and the elderly and the disabled without shoes, without water, if they survive, when they arrive at this camp, they get biometrically enrolled. Not by an IDF, not by an Israeli government, by an American. An American contractor biometrically enrolls these individuals into a database with a retinal scan, fingerprint scan, and a picture, and they're given an ID. That entire database is controlled by the Israeli government. And I'm not saying that as a conspiracy. I was there from the very, very beginning when GHF started operations. I was there on the 26th when Jake Woods stepped down from the GHF. I was there when we created the first plan on how we were going to do distribution. I was there on the 27th of May when 34,000 people rushed the site and we had to run. This is not a conspiracy. The Operations Control Center takes the data that comes in from the biometrics and the IDF control it. That's a fact. And they use it for targeting. Once the Palestinians come to this new site, 400 sites under the United Nations, community-based distribution, meaning United Nations, World Food Program, World Food Kitchen, in the neighborhoods, cooking food and providing meals and medicine and everything else you need to live. We're not doing that. The only thing that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is providing is dried, parceled food, rice, beans, pasta, and we're giving them no water. The no water is not an accident, it's by design. On the very first day of distribution, when we provided them the food and people were begging for water, and we said, okay, why didn't we bring in water? It's not in the contract. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, when they say, we don't have a contract with the Israeli government, and we're not taking money from the Israeli government, that is true. But Safe Reach Solutions, which is the contract entity that runs the operation, is in a contract with the Israeli government, with Kogat, and is being paid by the Israeli government. And the contract states no water, limited amount of food. With all the millions of meals that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has proclaimed that they brought in over time, from beginning to now, if you take that many meals per population, for 3 meals a day, for what's needed, it's 1 meal every 2 days, 1.5 to 2 days, 1 meal of 220 calories. I know this more than anyone in GHF because I was there, but I was also in charge of the operations. And when I saw these boxes of food and I asked, who is this supposed to feed? And the official statistic I was given was that 1 box feeds a family of 5, 3 meals a day for 3.5 days. Okay, yeah. So that's 52.5 meals per box. So if I calculate the number of meals per the total number of food in the box, it's only 220 calories per meal.
Yeah, we knew they were lying by the time we saw the boxes.
Yeah, I have pictures and photos I have done, like on site. The day that I asked this question, I was like,
we also knew that was wrong before we saw the photos, but it was pretty clear.
And I opened the box and I took out every item and I counted every bit of every calorie in the box and put it back and I said, okay, well, 5 times 3 times 3.5 is 52.5. That's 200 calories per meal, 220. So even if they got a full 3 meals in that day, it would be 660 calories. That's half a Snickers bar. And no water. And no proteins. And no other food but dried carbohydrates. We're killing them. And it's by design. This is not because the UN has failed. This is because the UN is not allowed in. Kogat controls that. The GHF, in their process of delivering and distributing food, there's no distribution. It's put in a pile. And then come and get it. We're beyond that now. That was phase 1. We went into phase 2. We're beyond phase 2. We're now in line, phase 3, with phase 3 of the Israeli operational plan to clear the rest of Gaza, which is happening in the north early. The phases have now aligned to where phase 3, the establishment and the expansion of the Humanitarian Assistance Village. It's a nice little name they've given to it. We are taking the entire population of Gaza and we are concentrating them into a 2.7 kilometer camp guarded by Americans. It's a concentration camp. It's defined in the Geneva Convention. Getting biometrically enrolled by Americans. Starvation, famine. Anybody that says that there isn't mass starvation and famine going on in the enclave needs to have their head checked. It's happening. I've seen it. Parents carrying their dead children. A family, a father dragging a wooden pallet with a rope with his children dead. Either shot or starved to death. It's real. It's not Hamas propaganda. Sure, that's out there, but it's real and it's happening. And I have seen it and I have witnessed it. Children dying, families dying, families separated from their loved ones, young children whose parents are dead and they don't know where they are, children wandering around like, where are my family? Putting that all together, the organization, or I'll call it an organization, the people that were hired to run the armed security aspect, UG Solutions, who I worked for, the guy in charge, the number 1 guy in charge, is the national president of the Infidels Motorcycle Club. Each site was hand-selected recruits from the club. The Infidels Motorcycle Club consider themselves to be modern-day crusaders. This is a pilgrimage for them. They wear 1098 tattoos on their body. They have Crusader cross tattoos on their body. And the charter for their club is twofold. One, to fight jihad around the globe. Two, eliminate all Muslims from the world. I was there, I witnessed it, I saw it. And when you think about the amount of violence that's taking place on the sites, not just by the IDF, but it's a two-way, it's this symbiotic relationship of this two-way violence to where they get funneled into the site by getting shot at. They get pushed off the site by getting shot at. When you have thousands of people coming, so the entrance and the exits converge at the same point. So as you have people coming in, hitting the intersection to come into the site, the people coming out of the site are hitting at that same point, and you have this massive confusion, and you have this massive crowd, and you have the IDF shooting at them, and you have UD Solutions personnel shooting at them, stun grenades and tear gas, and people are confused, and people are getting trampled to death. On site number 3 on the 16th of July, 20 people died from getting trampled to death. That's not Hamas. The death toll in Gaza is far, far more than what is being reported. We all know that. In reality, and again, I'm not judging this from a perspective of having never been there. I've been to war 12 times. I know what destruction leads to a civilian casualty count. The dead in Gaza, reality, probably close to 300,000, if not more. And it's rising by the day. Because as they're pushed out, just yesterday on our news, on Western media, 17 high-rise buildings dropped to the ground. Do you think people got out of there in time? No.
And those are our
17
bombs.
buildings
I'm sorry, just
dropped
what you say.
to the ground.
Our bombs.
And that is happening today. We'll see what the count is. Going to be another 20, 30. They are leveling all of Gaza. This is not a secret. Netanyahu said it. They've all said it, that that's what they're going to do. And as they're doing it, the people have nowhere to go. And if they make the journey and they survive the bombing and they get to this distribution site, or this humanitarian aid collection site, this concentration camp, they get biometrically enrolled and they get put into an encampment that has no running water and no electricity and no sewage and providing them no food and no water, they're going to die. This is not weeks from now or months or years down the road. This is happening right now. Right now, this is happening. Palestinians are being marched, forced into concentration camps that are guarded by Americans. Americans that are part of the Infidels Motorcycle Club, who are in Gaza armed to the teeth with automatic weapons on a tourist visa. That's how I entered Israel. That's how I entered Gaza. I came into Israel and I paid $25 plus $150 for the easy pass processing. And I got my little tourist visa. Did I get anything else to go into Gaza? No. One night, because our local Palestinian workers were practically starving to death because they were brought onto the site and no food was given, we had Domino's pizza delivered into Gaza. Yeah, that was me. This is real. You have people dying, starving to death, and 20 kilometers away you have a McDonald's. This entire thing is by design. The entire thing. It is not an accident. It is not the fog and friction of war. I've seen the fog and friction of war. ISIS, pretty bad organization, cutting off people's heads, killing women and children, horrible. We fought them out of Raqqa, and when we, on our way out and they leveled Raqqa, it didn't look as bad as Gaza. And on the way out, they hung civilians from the streets as a sign not to follow ISIS into Baghuz, and we did. And when we got there, and these horrible, horrible, evil people surrendered, ISIS, we fed them, we gave them water, we treated their medical needs, we assured them shelter and safe passage to the encampment up in Al-Hol, We are treating Palestinian women and children worse than ISIS fighters that surrendered. Women and children, they're dying. And it's not the IDF. It's not the Israeli government. It is us, and I don't mean through this, well, our taxpayers' dollars go to this. Directly, it is us. It is our tax dollars, and it is Americans at the end of a gun denying the food and the water and standing guard and watching thousands of people die. Since I've been home from Gaza, when I first got home and I came to the Hill, I talked to Republicans and Democrats alike. In that time, I've now gotten calls and have had conversations with the embassies and the ambassadors of Australia and the United Kingdom and Canada and New Zealand, Japan, Sweden. Japan gives a crap more about this than we do. Japan. I had 2 meetings with Japan. They flew me to Japan to do an interview with their news TV, and then days later, Japan came out and said, we're condemning this. Japan cares about this more than we do. The Pope, 2 days ago, the Pope's office called me, because after my protest in Congress last week, it's like, hey, good job, keep it up. The Pope cares. I mean, we are blind. The world right now is watching, and we, the United States, have our hand in the cookie jar. And when the curtains opened, does any congressman or senator, whoever else we're in, do they think that Israel is going to stand and say, it was us, it's all on us? No. They're going to say, America paid for it, America did it, those are American bombs, those are American citizens at the end of a gun starving those people, that's not us. Oh, this concentration camp where hundreds and thousands are just dead, like what looked like at the end of World War II, well, that's an American, it's not us. And they're right, they don't touch it, we do. Time is running out. The world is watching. The United States is on the wrong side of history. Without action and without stopping the starvation, allowing UNRWA and the UN to go back in, and I am not a humanitarian aid, this and that. I just studied it. UNRWA provides the things at a site where they take the food to the place and they actually cook the food, and they provide water, and they provide baby formula. The Israelis, after the baby formula debacle, oh, we got a baby formula, they said, okay, take it in. And we give them no water. Just gave them bags of formula, powder, here you go. There, take it, no water. It's cruel, it's dehumanizing. From an aspect of just the moral, ethical principles. But if you look at each of those things, forced displacement of a population, movement of a population, of a civilian population through danger and not allowing safe passage, the withholding of food and water. These are articles of the Geneva Convention that we as the United States are beholden to, that we in the United States are the ones doing it. When the offensive ends and Gaza or Israel or whomever is like, okay, we're done. How are those Americans that are there now going to get home? They're not going to be able to travel through any country. We can't even have American citizens right now safe in Doha, one of our largest bases in the Middle East, because Israel just bombed it yesterday. And now the Qataris are like, whoa, can't trust you. So we have Americans in danger. There are American citizens. There are American citizens, not dual citizens, not kind of citizens, blue passport, American passport holding citizens trapped in Gaza because they can't get out. The Israelis won't let them. So we are standing by and we are watching this, and we are all complicit, every one of us. In the days that come before the end of September, before we take to the stage at the UN Convention or the UN General Assembly and we talk about Palestine this, recognize that, there isn't going to be a Palestine to recognize because they will be dead and the land will be gone. It's already 80% there. This is happening now, overnight, happening. And we're doing nothing. History is going to judge our country and our lawmakers. You're either on the right side of it or you're on the wrong side of it. Is Hamas a problem? Sure, we can talk about it all day long. Is self-defense or two-state solution, or we can talk about that all day long. But if we don't stop this, there isn't going to be a discussion to have come October or November, because before Halloween, Palestine will cease to exist, or the idea of Palestine, or Gaza, or take away the titles and just call it human beings. Just human beings. Let's just call it that. Like, can't we come together and make a stand against killing babies? And I've seen it, and this is not coming from someone that was, working late, working a contract to get home and went overseas and saw some stuff that I didn't see. I have fought in war since I was 21 years old. I joined the Army at 17. I graduated from West Point and I went to war. And I have fought in war for the last 25 years in the places that make hell look hospitable. And what I saw in Gaza and what I witnessed is incomparable to anything that I've ever seen. It made me sick to my stomach. The smell of death, bodies left in the rubble, dogs eating parts of bodies because they're just left there without any type of care. It's disgusting. It violates every principle of humanitarian law, every principle of the Geneva Convention. And we are standing by and we are holding Israel's hand in doing it. And when the world holds us accountable, we have nowhere to hide. And the world is going to demand accountability. And every lawmaker in this country is going to have a bill to pay. Because we're passing laws and we're paying them the money. It's happening. The Office of the Inspector General from the USAID and the Office of the Inspector General from the US State Department, after they saw my interviews on Tucker Carlson and some other platforms, I didn't know they watched them. They called me and they said, "We're Special Agent so-and-so. Can we talk to you?" And I was like, "I don't believe you." They had to come, I told them, you prove it. They drove from Maryland, they drove to my house and showed me credentials and the whole line out. I called their supervisors. The United States State Department and USAID is investigating the GHF because the USAID, so State Department processed the grant. USAID does still exist for existing contracts, which is this one. They don't know where the money went. Our own State Department, when I went and talked to Congress in early July, and I talked to Van Hollen, and I talked to Welch, and I talked to Tillis and Langford, and all these, the one question they all had in common, regardless of what side of the aisle, was, "Remember where the money went?" That's shocking. And we're letting it happen. We don't have to let it happen. We don't have to. The GHF needs to be shut down, and UNRWA and the UN need to be allowed to come in with 500 trucks a day to 400 sites to distribute food to people that are dying and starving, children that are dying. Right now there are children dying. And there's an American standing there watching them die. I know that because I was one of those Americans. I watched it happen. We're complicit. And if we don't do something about it now, it will be too late. Tomorrow is too late. Tomorrow is too late. And the next thing we're going to be looking at in terms of a House resolution is where we're going to put the monument to the 2.2 million Palestinians that died. And we're all going to say, never again, never again, never again. And we watched it happen. We're watching it happen.
No.
And
I just want to say that tomorrow is 9/11, and I've said this before, and we watched, most of us, the World Trade Center being brought down. And now we're watching as our bombs bring down the buildings. After